Hey friends, it's Pal Reed Diamond here. I just want to let you know that we're going to do something a little different this week. In the style of Homicide. You may be familiar with Ask a Gen Z, the brainchild of my partner, the very sexy Kyle Secor. Well, we did a Ask Gen Z interview, and it was so scintillating and engrossing and engaging and fun that we decided to make a whole episode out of it. So, get ready to enjoy.
Don't ask Kyle, don't ask Reed.
Don't ask him.
All you gotta do is ask a Gen Z. Don't ask Kyle, don't ask Reed.
Don't ask him.
All you gotta do is ask a Gen Z.
That's fresh. Greetings and welcome to our Ask Gen Z. It's the part of the show where we find out what we could never, ever know on our own and discover what relevance, if any, Homicide has for the Gen Z crowd. And our guest today is Max Donovan. Hello, Max.
How's it going? How you
Max, oh man, thanks for being here, buddy.
doing? Thank you guys for having me.
Max is a guy who's he's a dedicated actor, he's a creator, he's a filmmaker, and he's a philanthropist, which we're going to get into. He's also one of the stars of the current Netflix hit, that 70s show, spin-off, That 90s Show, which has some relevance for Homicide, right, Reed?
Because we were a 90s show.
You were the 90s show. Come on.
We were one of
Max,
them.
on your 90s show, what are some of the shows that you guys have referred to? These are the shows in the 90s that these kids might have watched.
So far, we've only really referenced a couple. The only very specific reference we've done was 90210.
Okay.
Sure.
Because we did a whole fantasy sequence where we all got our hair done and we dressed up in the outfits.
Who were you? Were you Luke Perry or were you Jason Priestley? Or
I was Jason Priestley.
Nice. Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I had that. Oh man, that one was pretty fun. But other than that, we've really only done a talk show here and there. So I think we're gonna have to do some more fantasy sequences in the.
Well, if you need us to help you with research about the 90s, we're a font. We are truly like the 90s Library of Congress right here.
Hey, so Max, tell us where you're at right now.
I am currently in New York City. It's pretty fun. Shooting a TV show right now called The Better Sister for Prime.
They're putting you up on the Upper West Side, you were saying? Nice.
Yeah, it was so funny. They were like, hey, well, where in the city do you want to live? And my sister and I were here together.
Right.
And we were kind of like, oh, the Upper West Side. And they were like, great, does this apartment work?
That's amazing.
I was not expecting it.
Have you been to Zabars yet? Because I feel like you're pretty close to there.
I have not.
Okay,
What's
yeah.
Zabars?
Well, Zabars was the original gourmet market. It's right down there on Broadway. I mean, because we won't tell anyone, so your stalkers don't know where you are, but you're somewhere on the Upper West Side.
Somewhere around here. My sister and I have been doing a lot of exploring in the theater district. We've been to about 10 plays.
Tell us a couple of the plays you've been to that you've really enjoyed.
Stereophonic right now. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. It was unbelievable. We were all the way up in the wings and it didn't even matter. They said it was 3.5 hours long. It felt like 20 minutes. It was really fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask how old you are before I say anything inappropriate? 19. Okay, 19. So I mean...
Can't go clubbing.
No. Up here in Canada, you can have beer and wine.
Every other country, I'm good.
I've known Max since you were probably, 16?
I think I was 13.
No, you were not 13.
Yeah. I was 13. When I was a freshman in high school, I was 13 years old. Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
My best friend is Emery Secor. Maybe I was 14 because I think it was Emery's first horror film that I really got to know the Secor family.
You came over and you were running sound.
Yeah, which I'm terrible at. I have no idea how to run sound.
This was a movie that she was directing?
Yeah, for Cinema Scare at our high school. We both went to the LA County High School for the Arts.
Look,
there it is. I have the hat too. I don't know why I'm not wearing it. I'm wearing a random ski hat. What's wrong with
Gotta represent.
But Max has spent a ton of time at our place because they shot over the years maybe 20 films together. A lot of films.
Yeah.
And we shot a lot of them in and around the house. And sometimes they were here for 64 hours at a time.
Crashing on the couch and then getting up and shooting again. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was fun. It was a blast. Second home, you know.
And do you call him Kyle or do you call him Mr. Secor?
Well, I think I used to call you Mr. Secor, and then at a point it just sort of became first name basis. I hope that's okay.
I gave you the nod. It's okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank God.
I'm good with Kyle.
I prefer first names, Max.
Are you sure? Okay.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We're fellow actors. I mean, one day, hopefully, we'll work on one of your shows. Tell us about your character.
On
the show that you're doing right now. Yeah.
Oh, on the show I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a really interesting. It's such a departure. I've pretty much only ever done comedy before this one, and this is a pretty intense drama. So it's a lot of fun to get to explore. But he's a very like inward-facing character. He's very in his own mind, and sort of starts off more immature, and then as the events of the project unfold, he's sort of forced into growing up. Very different from Nate on 90 shows, like this big bombastic kind of.
That sounds like a ton of fun.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. 70 show was one of my favorite shows growing up, and so then to kind of get to step onto that was insane.
And then they bring back the actors from the 70s show periodically, and they come in. Yeah,
it's like a master class every week.
But are they like your parents?
A few of the younger characters, their parents are the original cast members.
Wow, very cool.
And then I just happen to live next door in the Pinciotti's old house.
I love this. This is it has a relevance to our show right now, because what we're talking about are parents who back in this 90s watched Homicide, and then they grew up and now they're introducing their kids to it. And Max, where originally are you from?
Well, this is a very interesting question. I am originally from Baltimore.
No way!
I am, yeah. Born and bred in Baltimore. Okay, I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Having spent so much time in Baltimore, did you ever get to try these Burgers cookies?
I have heard of those before.
I'm gonna have to ship you guys some boxes.
Why
of
do
them
you
from
have
over here,
them?
because I spent Labor Day down in Baltimore. So it's very fortuitous that we're here talking about this. Yeah, I have a bunch of family who still lives there, and my parents, a lot of their friend group is still moving back there now. And yeah, it was fun. We got to go down there and have a housewarming party at my godmother's house.
From what ages did you live in Baltimore?
My parents lived there for, I think, 12 years, but I was only there for the first couple years of my life. It's a very formative time.
Parents were there like what years?
They were there from 95 till 2008.
95 is when I came
exactly.
there.
They came there because of you.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's true. They followed you. They're your stalkers. So I'm actually I'm pinging your location to them right now.
Not again, Max. And what brought your parents to Baltimore?
I think it was actually for their graduate program, if I'm not mistaken. They made great friends, had family there, and they just sort of never left till they had us for a few years. And they were like, all right, let's check out Colorado, and then eventually LA, and that's where I got to meet you. So worked out well.
Incredible. Max, your father, did he ever watch the show while he was in Baltimore?
Oh, yeah. Both of my parents, they watched it. It was the show set in Baltimore, filmed in Baltimore. Yeah, they loved it. And then years later, when we all kind of met, my parents were like, oh my God, they're from Homicide. Like, of course. We watched that show every week. Although I think they did find it a little bit concerning, because they were like, we live here. There's a lot going down.
Yeah.
There was a fair degree of verisimilitude, art imitating life, as they say.
When was the first time you saw something from that show?
Honestly, the first time that I was able to find a full episode of it was when I was at college with Emory. We both go to DePaul for filmmaking, and Film 105 is the technical title, but it's TV 101, and it's the most important eras and pieces of television. They teach your guys' show as one of the most iconic and one of the most important pieces of television of all time. And so they actually had full episodes for us to watch, which was really fun. I had to make Emory say that she had a very close connection to the show, because she was like, no, I don't have to say anything. I was like, you do. You have to flex that to this entire class right now.
That's amazing.
Did you have her raise her hand or something?
Oh, I raised my hand. Yeah. So it was like they'd shown us some fun stuff before then, but it was the first time I think that it was a show that people would actually, we want to watch the shit out of this show, pardon my French. But we were all like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then I was like, hey, Emory, you got to say something. She was like, no, I'll just tell the teacher after. So I raised my hand. I was like, hey, Emory has something to say about this show.
And when they taught it in your class, how did they frame it? What did Homicide represent in the evolution of television in that class?
I mean, obviously, it really paved the way for what television was able to become, and it really sort of set the standard for what could be shown on like a network TV show. And in addition to that, sort of from a more like directing standpoint, that guerrilla filmmaking that in the moment, very on the street. I think it's really, it's in the title.
Exactly.
The importance of the actual subject matter of the show and what was shown, and really is the only reason that shows later on were able to break those boundaries. And,
You said it perfectly. You should be the opening to our show.
oh, okay, I'm in.
That was great.
Prior to them talking about the cinematography and you were watching it, did it strike you that there was something different about the way it was shot? Or did it just seem like, yeah, this is the stuff I'm usually watching these days?
Yeah, absolutely. They showed us the pilot in that very opening scene where they're talking over this investigation. They're shining their flashlights. It's shaky, it's gritty, it's very in their faces. And you almost don't know what's going on. You're just paying attention to this conversation. And then all of a sudden it sort of widened out and you're like, they're at a murder scene. It was very, very unique and very new from anything that we'd seen. We sort of went in order, the 40s to the 50s to the et cetera. And it was the first time that we were like, oh, this is something that now people are trying to replicate. Whereas it was like the first time you'd seen it in that class.
That's such a great perspective.
When you saw these detectives on the screen for the first time, did they look like detectives?
Everything about it was it was very grounded. Two people having a conversation. And only when they sort of revealed what was happening did I piece together, oh, these are detectives. I think when I was first watching it, I didn't know who they were within the context of the show. Are these two guys just about to find a body and then call it into homicide? And I didn't realize that they were the actual homicide detectives on the call already.
You have summarized this show better than either of us could ever do, because that's
I'm a film student. I'm trying.
Well, no, my gosh, I know. I bow down to thee. But no, because that's our thesis, is that now it seems like it could have been made recently, but at the time it was such a radical departure, and you understand the context of that. It was on network television, so that wasn't the normal fare. Basic cable didn't exist, and HBO really didn't exist yet, and there was no streaming. So to do this weird show where you don't know, you said it so perfectly, because that's what's so radical out of the gate about this show, is it's not explained to you. It's not clear. You get to discover it as you would in a beautiful movie or a great piece of art, because TV was so presentational and so worried about people not knowing what was going on. It needed to be bright and colorful and clear. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite TV show now? Like, what if you had of all time? Like, do you have an all-time favorite TV show?
Okay, I'm a huge fan of Supernatural. Did you guys ever watch that?
I did. My daughter she's a Gen Z as well, and she's doing a radical rewatch. She's going through all the seasons of it.
That's
right?
the way to do it. Yeah, my mom and I
do.
Binged it over COVID. We watched
there you go.
15 seasons in 4 years. It was a marathon. It's a fun one.
And you as a filmmaker, obviously you're a director. What kind of stuff are you interested, or what kind of projects appeal to you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of sort of slice of lifey type things. I mean, my favorite movie is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
No way.
Yeah. And so I have it I have 3 different copies of it. I have it on VHS, I have it on digital, and then my friend got me a Criterion Collection DVD of it this year. So I was flying high.
Whoever thought there'd be a Criterion collection of Fast Times at Ridgemont High? That is fantastic. That is a great movie. How did you encounter Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Well, so there were 3 or 4 movies that my mom and dad, they sort of set aside as you can watch this one when you turn, they're sort of coming of age. You can watch this one when you turn 13. So I think 13 was Outsiders and The Breakfast Club.
Nice.
And then 16 was The Lost Boys and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And I love all 4 of those, but Fast Times sort of stood above the rest for me because it's just such a perfect slice of life. There's so much happening and none of it's chaotic. None of it's hard to understand. It's just there and you watch it and you love it and fun to enjoy.
In your short span of time here on this planet, in your shorter span of time as being a filmmaker, what has shifted for you from Loxa to DePaul to right now?
I mean, a lot of the movies that I like have remained the same. I think one thing that's differed is I, in high school especially, just kind of wanted to make a Tarantino-esque movie, make something like another person has already made. As I've gone on, I'm like, okay, well, let's see what I can make. And my sister's she's a writer, and so she's been writing all these scripts, and now I'm looking at these, which are completely different from anything I've ever read. And I'm trying to figure out how can I come in and direct this so that it's, my own voice with little maybe homages to these things that I love, but they're really from my own perspective. Sort of that shift of just figuring out what my voice is versus how I'm trying to replicate other voices. That's a lot of what art is, I think, is sort of taking inspiration but figuring out your own way to put it out there.
Kyle said that we would be jealous of who you are at 19, and he was right. I'm just going, oh my God, if I was this wise at 19, I could have conquered the world.
I've got great people in my life like Kyle, so I have to give credit to them.
You've got great people all around you. Your family.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
Really, really, really. What an amazing family. Yeah. How many episodes have you watched of our show?
Well, I'm really excited now that it's streaming on Peacock. I have actually been able to be binging it. So I was on a flight recently and I downloaded it. Oh, it's so janky. You can't tell Peacock I did this, but I downloaded it to my phone because that's the only place you can download it to. And then I streamed it to my computer because I wanted a bigger screen because I was like, I don't want to just be watching it on my little phone. I want a big screen. So I did that. I watched a few episodes, but this is honestly the first time that I've been able to have access to a large chunk of the episodes. So I'm really excited to binge it. I wish I had seen more than I have at this point, but I haven't been able to find it.
And is it a show when you're watching it? Because I feel like there might be some sort of.
Uh-oh.
Kyle, I think your Wi-Fi might be a little janky at the moment. Ruh-roh.
No. Oh no, we're losing him. We're losing him.
Is someone on your stream? Max, have you gone to the Natural History Museum yet?
I have, because I'm obsessed with dinosaurs. And they have so many dinosaurs. They even have dino nuggets, like the chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been living it up. I got a library card so I can get the like New York resident pay what you want thing, which I pay a little less than the regular ticket, so I don't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, it's a good place to hang out.
It's fantastic.
I mean, I grew up at that Natural History Museum, but it was always the place you went when it rained. That's what was always, instead of going to the park. Dinosaurs are quite impressive.
They're
and
so cool.
Obviously the whale.
Oh my gosh, right? What really got to me was my mom's an anthropologist and she used to be an archaeologist. And so they have like the original Lucy, the Australopithecus. And I didn't know that they had that. And I like wandered into a room and I was like, oh my God, that's Lucy. So that was pretty cool. She's like Indiana Jones.
What's her field of study? What is she focused on?
Within her archaeology, it was a lot of like Southwestern America. And so it was Native American studies. And she was on the team that helped excavate the tunnels under the Denver airport. And I've told the story. She won't tell me what was down there. So I seriously am still buying into there's something in the tunnels.
Oh my God, Max, this is the podcast. Okay, so they brought her down there in case they encountered anything?
I think, yeah. So it was basically before they could build the airport, they had to excavate all the ground underneath it to make sure that there wasn't anything that they couldn't build on top of. And I think theoretically they probably shouldn't have because it's, tribal land and it's very, probably cursed now. But she was part of the team that excavated all those sites out there. And she said that there were tunnels there before the Denver airport got put in and they built more tunnels. So it's sort of, there's something spooky going on.
What's the prevailing theory right now? Is that where we're keeping the alien spaceships?
I think it's the alien spaceships is the prevailing theory, yeah. It's like the real Area 51.
The real, yes.
Not the fake one out in Nevada.
But do you feel like she got the talk that you can never reveal this or
I'm thinking, because she
Max
won't even tell
disappear?
me.
Yeah. This is good.
Yeah, I think the aliens got to her. That's my working theory.
I think this might be your next movie.
Oh.
Are you into any of the conspiracy stuff?
That one.
Yeah, that one's a really good one. Southwest stuff, that's her focus.
Yeah, and so I think she grew up in Colorado mostly, and that really inspired sort of her archaeology. And yeah, she's excavated a lot of really cool sites around the Southwest.
Is she a Clovis first person, or does she believe that people have been here a little longer, or how people populated North America, humans got here? Well,
I believe what she's always taught is people came across the Bering Strait and then
on the ice bridge. Yeah.
So sort of people came out of Africa in whatever year that was, and then exploded all over the continents, and eventually found the Bering Strait where they were able to come over across the land bridge and populate Alaska and eventually Canada and what's now Canada and North America.
Kill off the megafauna.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so cool. And what does your father do?
My dad is in finance, which is fun.
Smart.
So he's very Baltimore. He got his MBA right there in Baltimore. And
well, Kyle's back, man. Sorry, but
all right. Welcome back.
How's your stream, Kyle? He's not back.
Oh no.
Oh, Kyle, you're not back. Oh dear, Kyle. You have to go to his house and you have to set him up. You're back now.
You're back.
Now we hear you.
Okay.
You're out of sync. Can you hear us, buddy? I can't. I'm so sorry, Max, that you had to experience this. No,
I will say the Wi-Fi at the Secor household, it sometimes works great and sometimes it doesn't work at all.
It's from the 90s.
It might be.
I love that you love Fast Times at Ridgemont High because I think
best.
all those actors are so great. I mean, Sean Penn is one of the greatest actors who ever lived.
Agreed.
And everyone's in it. You know, Nick Cage is in it as
Right.
Nick Coppola, right?
Yeah.
Eric Stoltz. You've got Anthony Edwards. You've got all these people.
Yeah.
And my God, Jennifer Jason Leigh. And I love that you love it. So what are some of your favorite older movies or older TV shows, if you have any?
Well, I always loved, I mean, this is even a little bit before, I think, 80s, but my parents, for a long time, we would recreate like their Saturday nights from when they were kids. And so we watched like Love Boat and Fantasy Island in order.
No way!
And we just find the episodes on YouTube because it was before we had like streaming services with them on there. And I don't even know what they're on at this point. But we would watch those. And then, I mean, I love MASH and Cheers. Those are probably up there. Cheers is one of my dad's favorite shows. So that and Wings are now on like a bunch of different services. We bought the services just to watch those shows.
That's so neat.
Yeah. No, I mean, we have 1,000. We have VHSs, DVDs. They collected so many movies over the years. I've probably watched Princess Bride 700 times.
That's so good because your parents aren't in the business. I just assumed your parents were in the business, but you...
Well, they instilled it in my sister and I from a very young age. Every time I think of like a core memory from growing up, even in a random small little town in Colorado, I remember things about the movies. And I'll be like, oh, well, that was the year the Avengers came out. And they're like, yeah, it was, but why is that what you remember?
I love this so much. What spurred on their passion? They just always loved movies and...
I think, yeah, they just sort of, they grew up, they had VHS players at their house, and that was sort of what they did. Yeah. Small town, too, right? We had one movie theater. Everyone would flock there on the weekend.
But I loved it because that was Saturday night. Love Boat, Fantasy Island.
Yeah.
Did they curate other evenings of television for you?
I'm trying to think. I feel like they did at a point. We definitely watched Gilligan's Island. 3-hour tour. Those were sort of like the curated nights. And then they always told us about there was Disney on Sunday nights.
Right.
And so we wouldn't exactly watch, the Disney on Sunday nights, but we'd always pull up some Disney movie. It'd be like Lion King or something.
Were Love Boat or Fantasy Island, were they enjoyable for you? I guess they must have been.
I loved it. I mean, I think I liked Fantasy Island even slightly more.
Oh, yeah.
Love Boat's fun.
Definitely. Yeah.
Fantasy Island is crazy. I'm like, take me there.
It was a wild sort of Aaron Spelling period, speaking of 90210, to come full circle. He would do those shows where you have all these former big movie stars or stars of other television shows. Instead of doing a variety show, you had these sort of narratives. They'd either be going on a cruise or they'd be going to Fantasy Island.
Such a great concept.
Oh my gosh. I love that you watched that. Have you seen the Donnie and Marie show?
I don't think I have.
Okay, yeah.
Donnie and Marie, I'm going to write that down.
YouTube that. Donnie and Marie, they were the two of the younger, cuter Osmonds. The Osmond family was a singing group. They're sort of the Mormon version of the Jackson 5. And but they had a variety show that was on Friday nights. It was on Friday nights, I think around the time when Homicide would have been on. And, well, gosh, he may never come back. Let's see if he's texted me. We've probably lost him for... I love talking to you. And so how long have you been there and how much longer is the shoot going for?
Well, I've been here for a few months. I think I'm here through the first week of October. Welcome back.
You're here. Okay.
This seems promising.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm just great. I'm fantastic. I don't need these anymore.
All right.
Okay.
I don't need those anymore.
It just gave me a little notice that said actual recording is higher quality. I think you just got roasted by Riverside.
No,
Here we are.
Yeah, Kyle, we're going to send Max, when he gets back into town, we're going to send him over to your house and get you all set up.
I'm not very technologically literate.
What?
I'm terrible. I'll have to have Emery on the line to be like tech support for tech support.
Emery doesn't know anything. No, it's Harper. Harper's the one. How's that?
You're upside down.
Yes. Are you in Australia?
Oh, wow. Cracking,
That's
mate.
amazing.
What's it like there? Is it hot down there?
Is it out there, mate?
Yeah.
Let's do the rest of it in Australian or Kiwi accents.
All right, mate.
Next.
What did you guys cover while I was gone?
Love Boat and Fantasy Island.
The Love Boat and Fantasy Island.
The double feature on Saturday nights.
His parents seem like the world's greatest parents.
They're pretty awesome.
They're unbelievable.
I'm a big fan. I'm totally not biased.
Did they meet you in Baltimore when you went down there this last weekend?
They did. Yeah, so we were down there all together. It was fun. And then they got us burgers, cookies.
Burgers, cookies.
Okay, Max, I'm going to ask two out-of-the-box questions. If you were a character on Homicide, who would you be?
Well, I think I'd be Bayless.
Oh, wow.
Because I'd be the rookie. I don't know much, but also I feel like I have a deep connection.
Yeah. You haven't seen Reed yet because you haven't gotten to season 4.
there yet.
I will get there.
And then we can ask that question again. When you go back to that 90s show, if you need any 90s hair ideas, I had some of the worst.
Okay.
So
They were very
they were very floppy.
Yeah,
They
they
were
were
very
floppy.
floppy.
They've given me some floppy hair. They really like do the whole, they yank it back and then they very carefully curtain bang me. Well, God, that sounded terrible.
I'm watching that 90s show as soon as I get off this podcast with you because I know you're going to blow me away.
It's a good one. I mean, again, not biased at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. Go on to season 4. Just watch a little something, read.
I did watch some clips. I just haven't watched the whole episode with it. I wanted to make sure I had done the research.
You did the research. You're the most prepared person here.
This is your task, Max, is
Okay.
when you go back to the 90s show, say to the writers, just put in a reference to Homicide, and it will kill. People will go, oh my gosh, they referenced Homicide.
We have a standard question for this segment that we want to ask you, and I think you've pretty much sort of answered it much more articulately than I will even phrase this. But do you feel like the show holds up? Do you feel that it's relevant today, a piece of art that you would enjoy watching?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think I think I touched on it a little bit, but it's really, absolutely, it holds up. It could be made today and still be just as impactful. But I think the fact that it is sort of this slice of the 90s is really part of what makes it so astounding. And I do think for my generation, we are all looking for that next show to watch. Everyone's itching for something of that quality. It's still very relevant. Absolutely, people should be binging it right now. And I think a lot of people are, which is exciting.
We talked to Oscar Walsh yesterday. He said something really interesting, and I want to get your perspective on this because he was a fan of the original Law and Order. What he liked about that was you had a beginning, a middle, end. It resolved at the end of the hour. So there's that type of TV. And then now we have things that are designed to be streamed and binged. So there's a sort of hook that gets you to stay there and click next episode or let the next episode play. But obviously Homicide wasn't designed that way, and he sort of described that it fit in this sort of limbo middle ground. Is it a show that you feel like you can binge, or does it feel more like something you watch one and then come back and watch another one?
Very interesting point, because I agree. There are shows, I've been watching Dexter, and I feel like even though that wasn't made to binge, it's very bingeable. Each episode, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And then there are shows like Breaking Bad that I feel like I never was able to binge that. Each episode was such a heavy piece. He's not wrong. It is. It sort of fits into both categories. Really, you want to find out what happens next, and it leaves something open at the end. And there is sort of that hook that I think a lot of streaming shows get you into it. But it's also, there's so much to unpack in each episode. You sort of finish it and you're like, oh, that was heavy. So I think it's nice because you can binge it, but you can also savor it.
Bingeable and savorable.
Yeah.
Write it down, Reed.
We should put that on the Google description.
Bingeable and-
Gritty, bingeable, and savorable.
Would you say it's a satisfyingly unsatisfying show?
How do you mean?
You're not satisfied at the end of an episode oftentimes. It's not wrapped up. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit unsatisfying.
But in the right way.
In the right way.
It's not like it's leaving you hanging and then you're just like, oh my God, it left me hanging. It's leaving you hanging and you're like, what's going to happen? It just leaves you on the edge of your seat.
If you have the time in your busy schedule of being on all of your television shows, if you watch more, we'd love to have you back because after the first season, there was a new director of photography who then was there for most of the rest of the show. And so the show changed, and then visually it changed. And over the years, it got a little more colorful, a little less desaturated. So I would love to get your perspective as the show sort of visually evolves and somewhat, I mean, the storytelling was always the same, but they did throw in a couple of car chases or at least some guns and then one explosion here or there. So I'd love to hear.
I'm in.
I don't want to keep you from going to Parm. You mentioned your philanthropy. Can we talk about that just a little bit?
Absolutely. Thank you guys for bringing it up. I basically last year, almost 2 years ago now at this point, which is crazy, my family and I, we started a nonprofit called Nature's Negotiators. We wanted to come in from that anthropological standpoint, like I was saying earlier about my mom. We wanted to be able to come in sort of mimicking like how the Jane Goodall Institution works. They dive into a project at a grassroots level, and they work with the local community to find a solution that's sustainable not only for the environment, but also the local economy. And it ensures that it doesn't change how people live their daily lives in a given local community. We've really been wanting to find, economic and sustainable solutions to climate change, and it can feel like such a giant, unbelievable task if you're looking at it from the big picture that I think is sort of hammered into the news every day, and it's sort of overwhelming and it doesn't feel like there's a hope in sight. What we want to really focus on is that, hey, yeah, actually, if we go in and we solve like one little thing at a time by bringing everyone to the table, it becomes a much smaller, bite-sized type thing that we can eventually tackle. It was really fun. Last year, we went up to Alaska, and we seemed to be focusing a lot on fish, which we didn't expect going into it, but they're very integral to the ecosystem. And so we were up in Alaska and the king salmon there. With our first fundraiser, we were able to sponsor a roundtable, which brought together every party in Alaska to the table to have a discussion about both wind power and, sustainable fishing. In the meantime, we were able to sponsor a set netter on the Cook Inlet to put new technology on his beach, which allowed him to fish at a different level and catch more pink salmon, which reduced the bycatch of the king salmon, which are less abundant right now.
Wow.
And it worked, and it actually led to a $500,000 grant by the Alaskan government to further this research for the next few years. So with any luck, that little chunk from it will turn into something huge, which was sort of our original goal for the nonprofit anyway, was to see what change we can make from a lower level, just see what happens.
That is spectacular. And what is the name of your organization?
It's called Nature's Negotiators. And we have a little polar bear with a gavel as our logo.
Boom.
Yeah.
And Max, where else can people that for some reason don't know about you, where else can people find you and enjoy what you're doing?
Specific to Nature's Negotiators, we have an Instagram with that same name. Our website is just naturesnegotiators.org. And then if they want to find out more about it, they can also follow. I have an Instagram. It's Mad Max Donovan, which is my initials, Maxwell Acee Donovan, Mad Max.
Max, it's humbling speaking with you. You've accomplished more in 19 years.
Again, I got to give credit to like everyone in my life. I'm not doing much on my own.
Oh, dude, this was amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time. Is there anything else you want to say before we split and let you go be a superstar?
I do. Are you guys fans of any Baltimore sports teams? Being in Baltimore, I'm obviously a born Baltimore Orioles
Ravens.
Fan.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the Baltimore Colts. Oh,
hey, they left us in the middle of the night, Kyle. They got up and left.
There was a CFL team there called the Baltimore Stallions.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
CFL.
Okay.
That was the most terrifying experience of my life because they played in the old Colts Stadium that's referenced on the show. Yeah. And I went there once. Everyone was shit-faced by the time the game started. So you get into the stands. Oh, it had gone really dark. And then it was benches, no separated seats. So benches with numbers in the stadium. So there was too much contact. And I could feel my Upper West Side, New York City spidey sense. It was going, this is going to break bad. And I'm definitely getting punched in the face. So I got to get out of here because it was violently drunk. But I was excited to go see that stadium where the Colts had played. But yeah.
I have one little small story to tell about Camden Yards. A couple of years after Homicide, I went in there and we shot an episode of Commander-in-Chief. I was supposed to go out and hit baseballs, and I went for batting practice down below the stadium, and I'm awful. And I used to hit pretty well. And so I go out in front of thousands of people.
Oh, dude.
And my son, who's supposed to be out there with me, hasn't shown up yet. The guy who plays my son. He finally shows up. I've basically hit dribblers. Nothing is going out of the infield. And he comes up to bat, and I go, well, we're really screwed now. The fans are going to hate this because he hasn't even taken batting practice. The first two, he hit him out of the stadium.
No.
2 home. I never even knew he played baseball. That's my Camden Yards story.
All right.
I've lost several jobs. I got them because of the acting and then would lose them because of my lack of sports skills.
Oh, no.
Have you ever had to play sports on TV or in the movies?
I've only ever had to play football, which I did grow up playing.
Okay,
in Colorado.
Good. Yeah.
So I was okay at that. But they did have me playing a quarterback, which I have never been. I've always been tight end or linebacker. And so I was like, I could tackle the quarterback, but I can't throw it 50 yards.
God, Max, this was such a delight.
This was so much fun. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Max. Thanks so much for doing this, buddy. And we can't wait to watch you on all of your television shows.
Thank you, Max, so much.
Thank you guys for
coming on and doing this segment of Ask Gen Z. Max, you're the best, man. I love you, and I can't wait to see you again.
Ditto.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, Max.
Thank you, guys.